The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. We're really excited because we got a big show for you here today. Lots going on here, and we're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours, which is going to be really exciting. I got to start by talking about a comment that came in on our live feature where somebody said, "This is not a question. I'm just amazed for all the good information I've learned. I'm not a mom. I'm a clinician and love your channel. I listen to you every day and I have several videos to catch up on. Thank you, thank you, thank you." And thank you, because this brings up something I'm about to talk about. One of our favorite things here on the show is when you guys interact with us, because the entire show is meant to be interactive. And in fact, while I'm talking to you about this, Samantha's going to show you some of the different ways that you can participate. But honestly, we love getting comments and questions from you guys. So here are some of the ways that you can connect. And while she's showing you all these ways that you can be watching the show or commenting, I want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, and by the way, that's all going to change, not the website, but the way it looks is going to change in the next couple of weeks. We're getting a whole new website, and you're really going to be excited when you see it, because it's just going to, all those videos that you say you're behind on, they're going to be so much easier to find. Oh, it's so exciting. So much easier. You guys have asked us, I need a way to find a video much quicker without having to go through all. You're gonna see. You're gonna be able to search topics in a much better, more efficient way and find more videos. It's gonna be lovely. But also on our homepage, you have the ability to talk to us there as well. And there are some pluses and minuses depending on where you want to talk. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, for instance, and you want to send a message to us, that's great. We take questions from there, and it's very efficient, right? But other people can see who asked the question. If you want to be anonymous, you certainly can by writing it on our live feature. There's boxes there that say your question. If you put the cursor in that box and you type and you hit enter, that's really all you have to do. You don't have to log in. There's no username. There's no password. There's no asking for a credit card, because in 14 days it's going to be charged. It's totally free, totally anonymous on our live feature. So that's there for you. But we like it however you participate. We love to hear from you. I got technical issues this morning all over the place. My iPad keeps slipping. It's a metaphor for my mind. But anyway, doesn't matter. We're gonna forge on, right? Which brings me to my next thing. We have lots of experts that are here on the show and that will be on the show today. But I always like to remind you at the start of the show that I am not one of the experts. My credential for sitting here is that I am an autism mom. By that, I mean that I have a child who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. He is now 14.5, and he is so fantastic that I can't even go there because I'll weep. And I'm incredibly grateful, because there was a time when people were telling me to give up and to not just lower my expectations, but to release them. And so fortunate that I ran into people who told me not to give up and not to release my expectations and to forge ahead. And I'm so grateful for that. But a long time ago, I sat on my bedroom floor and said, please help me to help this child. Please help me to not let this child down. And I promise if you tell me what to do, I will do it. And I will help whoever I can along the way. So I take that super seriously, you guys. I'm here to help you along the way if you can. Your journey is different from mine, and believe me, I understand that. But whatever your journey is, I would love to help connect you to something that is useful to you. That's what makes my day. But I gave up mind reading to be an autism mom. So you have to tell me. So write in and tell me what it is that you need. And I always say we hold hands, right? Si se puede, we can do this, but only if we hold hands. Don't be alone. It feels alone to be an autism mom or be an autism dad or to be on the spectrum, right? But you don't have to feel that way because you have a community of people here and elsewhere. We want to help and be supportive. Okay, having said all that, we like to start Thursday mornings with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. And this is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out just what in the hey nani nani are these people talking about? What is this about? So we take a term that is used in the autism treatment world. We first give you the actual definition and we make fun of it. And then we move on to the working definition, which sometimes makes our experts break out into hives, but helps us to get an idea, an entry point where we can begin to start to understand what these terms mean. So today's term, and it's one that we've done before, is differential reinforcement. Doesn't that just make you want to go to sleep hearing that? Like the first time somebody talked about differential reinforcement, they said, "Do you know what that means?" And I said, "No, and I don't even want to know." I don't even care. Like, let's move on. It's probably not important to me. But the truth of the matter is that it is important, and that's why we do these jargon terms. So let's take a look at what our actual definition is. And Samantha, you're going to have to full screen it for me. There we go. Differential reinforcement, providing reinforcement only for those responses within a response class that meet a specific criterion along some dimensions, for example, frequency, topography, duration, latency, or magnitude, and placing all other responses in the class on extinction. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for definitions that make no sense unless you already know what you're talking about, right? This is exactly why we do this. I'm no closer to knowing what that means. Are you? Do you like my announcer voice when I do the horrible definitions? Okay, let's move on to our working definition, see if we can figure out what this thing is. Differential reinforcement. It's being mindful and specific about what you're awarding so that only responses that meet specific criteria are awarded and all other responses are ignored. Now, I'm just going to tell you that when we did this definition, can you guess? I had a BCBA who made me put in certain words in the actual definition. So let's water it down some more. I say that this is moving the goalpost. So many of you worry about, and you will say to me, well, the thing I don't like about ABA, right? The thing I don't like about ABA is that we're supposed to reward them for everything. And I want my child to learn how to do things because you're just supposed to. So I don't want to have to give him a reward for everything, right? And what that tells me is that you have not seen the process of fading reinforcement up close and personal, and you don't know how it works. And that's okay. But let's talk about it, right? Because we want to give reinforcement for something. We know the PREMAC principle is that we're more likely to see something happen if we make something worthwhile happen on top of it, right? So if you don't like to do your taxes, but I promise you that if you can get your taxes done by the end of the week, that I'm taking you on an all expense paid vacation to Las Vegas for a week where there's going to be spas and facials and massages. If you really like spas and facials and massages, you're going to get your taxes done this week, right? And you say, that's great, but we can't always give spas and facials and massages for people doing their taxes, right? What would the world look like if we did? So with our kiddos on the autism spectrum, when we start out, we want to give them a reinforcer that makes it worthwhile, and it has to be in alignment with how difficult the thing is. So if we're asking them to do something really hard, that's really difficult for them, and in the beginning for some of our kids, vocal speech, hard, right? So we got to have a big reinforcer. Getting the kiddo to poo in the potty, big reinforcer, right? Because that's hard. You're not going to spend the rest of your life giving the big reinforcer. I love the family who said the first time that our child takes their pills on their own, wherever we are, whatever we're doing, we're leaving right then and going to Disneyland. Because mom said my life would be so much easier if I wasn't having to crush these pills and stick them in the thing and whatever. So the first time the child took the pills, they went to Disneyland. Woohoo, right? But you can't do that every time the child takes the pills, right? So you have a reinforcer that's going to work for this thing, and then you start to fade it. So differential reinforcement is when you move the goalposts a little bit at a time, right? So for instance, you're potty training and, the child goes in and you have your whole, the timer goes off and you do the party to the potty thing where everybody goes to the potty and it's the big fiesta, right? Child goes pee in the potty and we go, yay! That's why, yay! Fabulous, right? And then we finish up, we pull up the pants, whatever. We do that for a little while to make sure that it's cemented in, right? And then we fade that. So maybe now we put we fade that reinforcer when they go yay into a good job, right? It's not the big deal. And then we move on to the washing the hands at the sink. You washed your hands. Now it's the big party there, right? But we've moved the goalpost over. Now, the skill that we're learning, they've got the peeing in the potty. We're not going to cold turkey them on the reinforcer. We're just making it smaller and smaller and smaller. But now we're focusing on making the party, you washed your hands, right? And eventually, we're going to change it to that they go in by themselves and do all that. And when they come out, we go, yay, good job, you did that, whatever. And eventually we fade that out. Because I have a 14-year-old. He uses the restroom and there's no party. There's no party. Nobody says anything. It's totally, I don't even know that it happened, right? But I can assure you that when he was 3 and we were doing potty training, people would come in our house and go, seriously, this is what your house is like? Because it was that big of a fiesta. So we need to... Once they've got something, we move the goalpost over here and we stop reinforcing this. That's differential reinforcement. You go, I'm not reinforcing that anymore, moving it over here. Move your goalposts. If you get stuck reinforcing something and you continually reinforce it, one of two things happens. Either at some point, somebody says something, you go, oh, I shouldn't be reinforcing that. And then it kind of cold turkeys. And you know what I mean by that cold turkey? You just cut it off with no fading process. And for a child, it's like, wait a second, what happened? Did I do something wrong? So you want to fade it. You don't want to cut it off. But you don't want it to go on too long either. It's an art. It's an art. So differential reinforcement, use it well, and you will find that eventually your child will just do the thing because they will find other things that are reinforcing about it. For the potty, they like having dry pants, eventually. Sometimes they like the self-esteem of, I can do it myself. But they will find something reinforcing about it. But you got to reinforce and then move the goalposts. Differential reinforcement. Okay, moving on. We always have a question of the day for you. Today's question of the day. There it is. What can you do now that you couldn't do 5 years ago? I think it's so important for the psyche of the autism parent, and even for our teenagers and adults who are on the autism spectrum, to recognize that right now, in this moment in time, you're not done. There are things left to be learned. We're all learning and growing all the time, all of us, even people who aren't on the spectrum. So there's always going to be this process of growing and developing. And we can never close our minds to the possibility of more progress. I know we talk a lot about the window of time between 2 and 5, when kids' brains are the most flexible and we can get the most done and we've got the most amount of time to get them caught up. But for those of you who have children who are 6, 7, 8, 9, 44, 55, 108, while you're taking a breath, you're still learning and growing. And I made it personal to say to you guys, what can you do now that you couldn't do 5 years ago, to remind you that if you start something, and if there's something that you want to learn how to do. I wildly the other day decided that I want to learn how to make shoes. I don't know where this came from, but I went down the rabbit hole a little bit and started looking up and seeing that there are classes that you can go take to learn how to make shoes. And there are videos online. If I really want to, let's check back with me in a year. I don't know how bad I really want to make shoes, but maybe I do. Maybe this time next year I'll be saying to you, look at these shoes that I made. I don't know. But the thing is, we can. Now more than ever, you can. Maybe I can't afford to fly to Denmark and take the expensive shoemaking class that looks like it's so much fun. But the truth is, I can go on YouTube and get close to the same thing. It's a fascinating time that we live in. So don't give up on yourself. You can learn all the techniques of ABA if you want to and get really good at this. Your child can learn all kinds of things. But what do you want to learn? What do you want to learn, and what are you willing to devote to that? Is there time, money, energy that you want to devote to that? Because those three things, if you devote the time on a regular basis, you will get better at it, and so will your children. It's an amazing thing. So that's our question for the day. Please write in and let us know, what can you do now that you couldn't do 5 years ago? All right, let's take a look at our topic of the week. We always have a topic for you, and our topic this week is moving forward. Everybody take a breath, right? I had something come up earlier this week, and I felt all this emotion of, oh my gosh, this reminds me of this, and this is that, and so much of being an autism parent is the sum total of our experience, right? So I was talking to a mom who her child has recently regressed a little bit. Man, it brought stuff up for me, you guys, because I remember being in so much fear and being so concerned because Jem regressed. And then occasionally he would regress a little bit, and it always, felt like the worst possible thing. But you have to acknowledge that stuff. You can't just skate by it. You got to acknowledge it and go, yep, that happened once before, or that happened 7 times before. But this is now, and I know more than I knew now. And you got to look forward. You got to look at what's next. We always, on Thursday, hopefully we'll have time for a mindfulness moment to bring us into this moment. Because there's 3 choices, right? Living now, living in the past, living in the future. I'm not sure about this at all, but I think that living in the present with an eye to the future seems to be the happiest place to be in. Because, if you're living in the past or if you're living in the future, joy can't happen in either one of those spaces. Joy happens now, in this moment. But we need to be mindful of where we're going, right? So that we actually arrive someplace. So we're moving forward, acknowledge the past, look at it and go, yep. I did what I could, when I could, and when I knew better, I did better. That's it. This is a guilt place, right? Being an autism parent, don't spend too much time there. I highly recommend the children's book, Oh, the Places You'll Go, Dr. Seuss. There's a wonderful, wonderful page in it that I'm always reminded of, where they talk about the waiting place and how sometimes people get stuck in the waiting place where they rehash things that happened in the past, and it shows pictures of people with cobwebs attaching them to whatever they're sitting on. We don't want to be that, right? We're moving forward because we have things to do. As we said yesterday, when somebody says autism, we don't say game over, we say game on, and we're going to move forward. All right. Having said all that, we got a big show for you here today. A new segment that we've got here, Ask the Autism Experts. We have Beverly Downing, who's going to be with us in just a few minutes, and she's going to answer questions that you guys have sent in. Then we have special education attorney Bonnie Yates, who's going to be with us answering some of the questions that you guys have sent in. And then we're going to pivot and be talking with Elaine Hall and one of the cast members of a new movie that's out right now. Please stand by. It stars Dakota Fanning playing a young woman on the autism spectrum. And there are several people that are in the movie with her who are actually on the autism spectrum. Dominique Brown is going to be with us. He is one of the individuals who's in the movie. He's part of the Miracle Project. So Elaine Hall is going to be with us to talk about her role in this movie because she was a coach on the movie, and maybe she'll give us an update on some of the other things that Miracle Project is doing. And then Dominique will be here. We've had Dominique on, but I don't know that he's been in the studio before. Maybe. I think he has. Dominique is an amazing singer-songwriter, and he's in a lot of Please Stand By. So we'll talk about all of those things and much more. Stick with us. We're going to be right back after these messages.
Life-threatening aspects of autism. Unfortunately, autism can be a life-threatening condition. There are things that are associated with it that parents need to know about. First of all, there's the risk of seizure. It's heightened in people with autism. There's also the risk of what they call elopement, which means basically running away. Elopement can lead to things like exposure, drowning if they get near bodies of water, and maybe being hit by cars. Being hit by cars is certainly something that seems to be emerging as a problem in people with autism. So what do? We have to take certain steps to keep them safe to start. That means at home. Let's look around the home first. Where are your points of entry? Barriers, doors, windows, access to bodies of water, gates, fences. You have to look at school because people with autism can sometimes elope from school or things like that, daycare. So you have to make sure that it is written into their plan, wherever they are, that people are going to be responsible. That may include a tracking device. For some people with autism or Asperger's, a tracking device might be useful. It might help people know where they are, so in case someone has taken them a place that they shouldn't be taken, kind of tricked them. Sometimes you get that happening with your teenagers, or they're just a child that's unable to communicate or speak very well, and you need to know where they are. Consider that. There's a new generation of tracking devices. It can go in their shoe, can go in their jean, maybe in a cell phone. And I would also add that one of the most life-threatening aspects of autism is sadly being bullied, socially excluded, things like that. That's always happening in people with autism spectrum disorder. People bully them, exclude them. The risk of suicide is unfortunately very high. So do not be afraid to probe, ask uncomfortable questions, see what's happening. Even if they don't tell you, you need to ask other people at school what they know, what they've seen. Even though it's an uncomfortable thing, we do need to be aware that this is a very dangerous situation at times. Be very, very vigilant. Stay upbeat, be positive, and realize no one person and no one family can keep a child with autism safe all by themselves. Get the support you need, look around, be vigilant. It's better to take steps you feel that you don't need too soon than too late.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We have this new segment that I'm really excited about that's called Ask an Autism Expert. And every week we're going to try to plug a different person in. Today, for the first time on the show, we're having Beverly Downing. She is a BCBA, which stands for Board Certified Behavior Analyst, and she works for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. And Beverly, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start by having you tell folks at home, what do you do for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders?
Sure. I'm a clinical manager for CARD. So I oversee actually several offices in our Bay Area, California region. And as the clinical manager, I'm responsible for making sure that the quality of our treatment remains high. So ultimately, I supervise the supervisors as they implement their treatment programs for all of our clients, do consult and collaboration with families, and I also participate in intake meetings with new families to give them information about card services and, discuss recommendations and things like that. So it's a pretty broad role, but ultimately, I just want to maintain the quality of the treatment across all of our centers.
Which we love. Thank you for doing all of that. We've sent you
Of course.
some questions, Beverly. I'm going to start by reading this first one. My son is 4 years old and just started ABA, but the BCBA only submitted for 15 hours. She noted that since he is not having meltdowns with them, or self-injurious behaviors, that 15 hours is the max he can get. He does have stimming, but for the last month, he is only getting 4 hours because we can't find any other BA to help with the other 11 hours. She also said he has language and is compliant, so the hours go to kids that are more severe. They are saying my insurance does not pay for just skill acquisition. My son's speech is on a 2-year-old level, and he is not consistently social with his peers. He does not use his speech a lot at school, and in fact, that is one of his goals, for him to initiate his needs and wants. He doesn't ask questions and is not anywhere near conversational. They are even telling me they can't shadow him in a typical preschool. What should I do? I know he is very behind. Is this true that he doesn't meet medical necessity? There's a lot there to deal with.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So kind of want to break it down into a couple of like the key components. So for the last question, is this true that he does not meet medical necessity? No, it is not true. He has a diagnosis of autism, and the treatment is meant to address the core symptoms of autism, which is what medical necessity is determined by. So if he is displaying deficits in social communication and interaction, which as mom stated, he absolutely is, and he's also demonstrating restricted or repetitive patterns of behavior, then those are the areas that meet medical necessity criteria for treatment. So she mentioned that he's not engaging in meltdowns or self-injurious behavior, but as we just discussed, those things are actually not criteria for a diagnosis of autism. So those, just because there's an absence of those behaviors in that setting and at this time, does not mean that he doesn't meet medical necessity. She mentioned that he engages in some stimming, which would fall under those restricted and repetitive behavior patterns. So that's the first question. Just in summary, no, that is not true. Secondly, though it's great that he has some, it sounds like, foundational skills as far as like some, language and things like that, he still has pretty significant deficits if he is functioning about the level of a 2-year-old when he's 4. So the research all shows that early and intensive intervention has the best prognosis over time for individuals with autism. So at 4 years old, as a BCBA, my recommendation would absolutely be the intensive intervention, which would be 30 to 40 hours per week. So the 15 hours being the max that he can get from a recommendation perspective or from an insurance perspective is also incorrect. That may be what that particular clinician is recommending, but that is not true that there is a max of hours that can be requested or recommended. So it sounds like there's a little bit of a lack of availability with the staff, which is a different issue. If they did recommend the 15 and he's only getting 4, then obviously that's a huge issue. But it's more of a staffing problem with that particular agency rather than an actual clinical recommendation. So, the other aspect of her saying that the hours go to kids that are more severe, again, that is just something that they are trying to maximize the time that they have with their behavior, their therapist, in order to maximize across the board. But that has nothing to do with what's clinically appropriate.
And so I know you're a BCBA and you would never, you have ethical things, but I can say to this parent, there are so many warning signs here about this not being a quality ABA provider that I want to recommend that this parent get a different provider. Because if, let's just leave it there. This is not what you should have. Go with a new provider. If you are with a provider that has a staffing issue and they are a good provider, I suggest working it out with them always. But if you're not getting good quality or good advice or accurate advice, this is, to me, warning sign, get another provider. But for you, I'm gonna move on to the next question, which is, hello, my 12-year-old autistic son is really attached to our cat, but we are moving to a new home and have to get rid of her. I know this is going to be really hard on him. Any suggestions on how to help him deal? He functions in the kindergarten range, and they said thanks.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I think any child is, especially if they bond with, a pet, that's going to be a difficult transition. So my recommendation would really be to start talking to him about it now. So before the move, really the behavioral term would be priming him for what's to come and letting him know what to expect, even though it's going to be really difficult. All of us as human beings, like to know what's coming. Very few of us enjoy big surprises, especially when it's something that's going to be a difficult transition. So I would definitely recommend starting to talk to him about it now. If the family knows where the cat's going to be going, if they're giving it to a family friend or whatever the case may be, then being honest about that and, saying they're going to go live with the Johnsons and he's going to be really happy there, and really being honest and upfront with what that's going to look like. And if it's possible, trying to maybe have updated pictures sent or doing FaceTime with the cat. It's always going to be difficult, but I think the more preparation there is, the easier that transition will be if he knows what to expect.
Love that answer. Thank you so much. Moving on to the last question. They said, good morning, ladies. I'm a huge fan of the show. My 35-year-old son is making huge progress with his target behaviors. So now we're working on the smaller stuff. He wears 3 to 4 pairs of underwear every day. He does not have accidents. He knows that he should only wear 1 pair. Not sure the reason, but I know there are many ways we can tackle this. A token board? Can you and then they said, can you recommend some? Thank you very much.
Yeah, I wasn't quite. There could be a couple of things. I wasn't sure if he's changing his underwear 3 to 4 times a day or if he's wearing 3 to 4 pairs at a time. But I'm going to assume he's changing them. Let's just go with that response. The first thing that stands out to me is it uncomfortable for him? Is the type of underwear that he has, is there a tag that sticks out that makes it uncomfortable for him to wear? So he just wants them off, and then but he knows he needs to wear some underwear. So is that why he's changing them? So just identifying if there's some environmental factor that is causing this. It could potentially be that he has just created a routine for himself, and this is, he's continuing that routine. So I definitely would first assess if it's a comfort issue or a sensory issue, something that's making him uncomfortable. If it's determined that that's not the case and he seems to be fine, then a token board could definitely be effective. I would start small and, making with a token board, we want to make sure that he's able to access reinforcement quickly. So he's learning the goal of the token board. So in this example, if he's currently changing his underwear 3 to 4 times a day, you could set up a token system where if he only changes them 2 times a day, then he receives a reinforcer at the end of the day. And then as he makes progress there, then increasing the difficulty to, okay, now if you only change 1 time a day, then you'll get this reinforcer, and starting to decrease it in that way and seeing if that is effective for him. As with all reinforcers, we want to make sure that it's actually a reinforcer and it's something that he is going to be motivated by, and that he really will find a motivating factor for him to change his behavior. But I do think a token board could be effective. And can you recommend some? Really, it depends on what works for him and what works for you as a family. I mean, there are apps available that are great token boards. So that would be something potentially you could use. You can also make a simple token board just on a lined sheet of paper and just make, a mark on the paper of how well he's doing. So it can be as simple or as complicated for what works for you as a family.
Yeah, it's so fascinating as our kids grow and as they have different interests. I remember the early token boards with Jem. They would get a character from a cartoon that he liked, and those would be all the tokens. And there's a video of us when we went to the LA Zoo for the A word, and I had to be carrying the microphone, and there was going to be a lot of stuff going on, and I wanted my son was there with the family from the A word, but I wanted him to be working on something. So
Right.
I used my hand. That's why I keep holding my hand up. And I made little hash marks on my hand with my pen throughout the day. And that he knew that if he got a certain number of hash marks, that he got to go to In-N-Out Burger. Because I knew
Right.
that I wasn't going to be able to hold much more than that in my hands. So it's kind of fascinating all the different ways that you can have some sort of a token board and even use in your hand. Not everybody wants to write on their hand, but I love
Right.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I love that one.
Beverly, this was wonderful. I want to thank you so much for all the work that you do on a daily basis and for taking a moment to be with us to answer these questions. I'm sure our audience appreciates it. And we look forward to having you back sometime again. But thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really great. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Shannon.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What a wonderful thing. I love this new segment, Ask an Autism Expert, and we'll be continuing that next week. Okay, so, and we have some people who are writing in. I want to say hi to everybody, and I'll take a look at these questions as we go to break. We're going to come back, and I think we have time to do our mindfulness moment, so stick with us.
Looking for some cheap festive napkins for your next party with your kids? Look no further. We're going to be making some hand-dyed paper napkins. While we make this fun activity, you'll notice that these icons will pop up. These icons tell you important information about the skill and where to find it on the Skills program. Skills is an ABA-based online tool that helps parents create curriculum to help teach their children on the autism spectrum. And if you're already a Skills user, this will ensure that you get the most out of this fun activity with your child. Well, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are paper towels, food coloring, water, a bowl, and rubber bands. Step 1, you're going to take your paper towel and you're going to fold it symmetrically into a shape. This is a chance to be creative to see how repeating patterns are going to be made. Once your paper towels have been folded into different types of shapes and patterns, you're going to take your rubber band and you're going to use that to secure it in place. These are my folded up napkins. Now that they're ready, I'm going to take my water and mix it up with the food coloring and submerge the napkins in it. Once they've been submerged with the food coloring, I'm going to take it out and lay it flat to dry. If you leave it in the water too long, they're going to completely disintegrate, so just leave them in for just a moment. I've been very patient, and here is my finished pattern napkin. Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity with me today. Until next time, guys, craft on. Bye!
To find more about Skills and to access all of the lessons you saw in today's Smarty, visit skillsforautism.com and click on the parents icon. Skills, the online autism solution.
Hey, I'm Candace Cameron Bray,
Tom Bergeron.
You're watching Autism Live.
and you're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
You're watching Autism Live.
That makes me smile. We got to get Temple back on soon. It's been a little while since we've had Temple on the show, so we need to make sure that we do that. In any case, it is time. It is Thursday, so it is time for our mindfulness moment. And today I want to talk about moving with purpose and being in our bodies. And this is a subject that is very much in my mind right now because I am not in my body right now. And what do I mean by that? When we're kids and we're born and we move, I was driving home yesterday and there was an older girl and a younger girl walking down the sidewalk side by side. And the older girl was probably 15 years old, and she was walking, holding her books in front of her, and she was walking in a very stiff way. And, of course, I immediately understood, whereas the 4-year-old was walking and stopped and did this dance move and was doing all these things. And you could just tell that she was fully in her body. Like her body and her mind were talking to each other, and when she did something, her body did it, right? Whereas the 15-year-old was, obviously having some body issues and not feeling like she was in her body, and maybe having some body shame issues and being afraid of who's looking at, what's growing where, that kind of thing. This is so typical in terms of development that there are, and it could be because of developing breasts, it could be because of gaining weight, it could be because of losing weight, it could be that somebody has a scar on their leg that they're self-conscious of, it could be that somebody has surgery. I was talking with a friend the other day about how she felt disconnected from her body after a surgery because her back worked in a different way because she had a fusion done. So there are all kinds of things that can cause us to disconnect from our body. But it is a wonderful place to be in when you are in your body. And it's not an overnight thing. I mean, I'm working actively when I realize, oh my gosh, I'm not in my body anymore. I don't feel like I have possession of my limbs and body anymore, and that's not a place to be in. I've got to work my way slowly back to it. But if you've ever had an experience in your life that you can remember when you danced with joy and didn't care if somebody was looking. I know Nava, who was watching a few minutes ago, I don't know if she's still watching, was talking about how she could take me and teach me how to surf. And I have to tell you, I've laughed about that image in my head several times in the last week because it takes a crane right now to get me up off the floor. I'm trying to picture me getting up onto a surfboard in water. But you know what? It sounds like fun. I just think it would take me probably a year to be able to do it on dry land, and then, swimming lessons, and another year to do it in the ocean. But to have that feeling of knowing that you can is a powerful, powerful thing. So there are little things that we can all do to be in our body. And I think one that's really helpful for me, because I'm somebody who has arthritis, and so I tend to not want to move because maybe it's going to be painful. But that's the exact opposite of what we need to be doing. We need to be stretching and doing small movements at first to lead up into bigger movements. We also want to be mindful of this with our kiddos. One of the things that I think that can be particularly tough about doing an early intensive behavioral intervention with a child who's on the autism spectrum is that 40 hours a week is a long period of time. And of course, the therapists are playing with the kids, and it's not all work, but it isn't as much body outside time as a neurotypical kid would get. So we need to be mindful of that as parents. And that's where a good OT comes in. That's making sure that we go to the park. That's making sure we get our kids in the pool, that we have something that helps them to be able to move their bodies. For our older kids, things like Tai Chi are so beneficial for our kids. And for kids that just, like, you really have to maximize time. I love swimming as an activity because it gets the whole body and the lungs going, and they love it. They love the pressure of the water. And it's also a safety issue. The more that they learn how to swim, the safer they are, because we know that drowning is a huge cause of death in the autism community. So, but there are all kinds of things. Some kids like to run. I know that there's a kiddo at Card that they paired running with reinforcers for so long that running became reinforcing. And this young lady likes to run and is a competitive runner. So, finding out what it is, but giving all of our kids an opportunity to be in their body and not forgetting that aspect of their development. And we have to model that behavior as parents. We need to be stretching. Even if it's just you get up in the morning and stretch for 5 minutes and do it with your kiddo, and maybe you don't know exactly how to do it. Again, there are YouTube videos. We show here on the show the Suchoga. Sucho does yoga with my son. They're just short little things. Go to the library, rent a DVD that has yoga for kids. There are all kinds of possibilities. But we all need to be aware of moving with purpose and owning our bodies and being in our bodies. So that's and while we're doing that, it helps us to be mindful. So that's our mindfulness moment for the day. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have our fabulous guest, Bonnie Yates, special education attorney from Here G and Chow, and then later on, Elaine Hall, and we're going to be talking about Please Stand By Me with one of the cast members from that movie, and hopefully we're going to get to some of these questions, so stick with us.
Hi, welcome back to Autism Live and What's Left. We're welcoming you back. I'm Lisa and this is Amy Brown. So happy to have you back, Amy. Thanks for being here.
This is lots of fun.
We're having a great time and we're doing just a naan bread. It's an Indian traditional bread. I love it. It's really simple to make, but we can do so many variations, and we were just going off about variations earlier. What kind of variations do you think we could do to get creative with this?
Well, we were talking about, like, if you want to substitute a pizza crust, that you could use this.
Yeah, no yeast, which is great.
Which is great for the kids that can't handle the yeast.
Right.
And just the ingredients themselves are very simple.
Right.
So a lot of people can handle this when they can't handle other options. But again, it's just about the spices.
Right.
So adding in more of the pizza flavoring spices.
And we were playing around with some dessert ideas, like putting a little bit of cinnamon and honey in with it, and then maybe some fresh berries and some of the So Delicious ice cream.
Exactly.
So, we could have so much fun with this. But let's stay simple. We'll go back to what we were originally going to do. And we're going to start with a half a cup of almond flour. So we'll go ahead and put that in. And then I'm going to do a half a cup of tapioca flour. Now, one of the things that it asks for is just a pinch of salt. Do you mind, Amy, grabbing me just a wee bit of salt there? Thank you. And you can do less or none. It's all good. And again, we're back to cans. We want to make sure they're BPA free. We want to make sure that it's the real food that we're buying, and we've got organic coconut milk, and it's the full fat, or fat, flat. Full fat. We want to make sure we have the full fat in what we're cooking with, because the light version just does not turn out as well. So this reminds me a lot of pancakes. So
it's simpler than pancakes.
It is. Less ingredients. So we're going to go ahead, mix this up. Now we're at the skillet. So now what we're going to do is put it onto medium-low heat. These things heat up. The cast iron is so great. Why would you use cast iron over a nonstick?
Well, nonstick is easier because obviously it's not going to stick, but the coating that they use to make it nonstick is very toxic.
Right.
And so when we're focusing so much on trying to do healthy ingredients and being very safe that way, the last thing we want to do is actually cook the food in something that's going to be more toxic.
Right. We don't want to mess up all the good preparation we did in the food in a pan that's going to destroy those wonderful ingredients.
So how do you know when it's time to turn it over?
Well, right about now. It looks, we've got the bubbles going on in the middle, and the sides seem to be ready to go, so we're going to be brave and go in for the turn. So here we are, Aim. We're ready to go. There's one down and 4,000 more to go. Just kidding. But if we want to make and freeze these, we can definitely do that. It's got, like I said, a great consistency. Love the way that it tastes. Definitely appreciate what this is as far as getting away from yeast, extra carbs that our kids don't need. I can even use them. Sometimes I'll make tacos out of these. So it just really depends what you want to go about and do. And we really want to thank everyone on Autism Live for having us. We want to thank you, Amy, for joining us. Love having you here.
Yes.
And if you have any questions, please email us at autismlive@gmail.com. Or you can email me if you have some recipes you're dying to convert. Lisa at Takanow, TACANOW.org. And we'll see you next time at What's Left?
This cooking video is brought to you by WellAmy.com. Amy, a certified nutritionist and holistic health practitioner, is an expert on autism and special diets. Find ingredients and other GFCF-approved foods and recipes at WellAmy.com.
Welcome back to Autism Live. You know how there's just some people in life you're just grateful for, you're just grateful to know them? Well, our next guest is high on my list of people that I'm grateful to have in my life. Bonnie Yates is a special education attorney, an autism mom, an amazing person. She is joining us thanks to the law firm of Hirji and Chow, and we really want to thank them. Bonnie joins us on a weekly basis to answer questions that you guys have of a legal nature, because that's such a unique and special place that we made a decision a little over a year ago, I think, that this was important enough that you guys needed a place to answer your questions, and Bonnie devoted the time. So Bonnie, thank you so much for being with us.
Listen, Shannon, I can't always just say right back at you. That's not very imaginative. But as you were talking, I was thinking maybe we should have like a weekly shout out to the amazing people of special education. So I'm going to just throw one right back to you. Her name is Dr. Marilyn Banks. She's worked for the Los Angeles County Office of Education for the last 40 years.
Wow.
And she is that teacher that goes in and works with the kids when they need home hospital services. She's worked with a lot of our kids with autism because sometimes they are at home. And she is a special person because where somebody else sees a throwaway kid, she sees a diamond in the rough. And she works with students at whatever level they're at to bring out the best in them. So my shout out, my chain letter shout out this week is to Dr. Banks.
I love that.
She's helping me this week find a room for a kid.
Oh, that's a wonderful thing. And yes, let's absolutely do that. Let's call people out and say how amazing they are, because I don't know her, but I feel like I do now. And it's so good to know that these good people exist in the world, right?
There are special people that do this work.
Absolutely.
And where would be without them, you know?
Absolutely. But you're one of them, Bonnie. And I'm glad to know another. But take a second and tell us a little bit about Hirji and Chow.
Hirji and Chow is a Culver City-based law firm. They do special education, disability discrimination, higher education. So, like, let's say you're being kicked out of college because they think you're unstable. That was what was happening to this poor girl with autism this week. They were sending her out for a fitness evaluation, and if she didn't pass it, they're going to kick her out of the university in her last semester.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we are in Culver City. You can reach us at 310-391-0330. We're always happy to give you a free consultation. We're answering questions today based on California law and to a lesser extent federal law, because that's where I'm licensed. If you have a specific problem and or you're in a different state, you need personal specialized legal advice rather than the more general advice you get on this show. So we've given people resources for where to find an attorney out of state, www.copaa.net. And coming up actually next month is the COPA conference. I'm going to go. It's going to be in Monterey. So I'll be reporting back to you on all the stuff that we do there. You know, it's going to be cutting edge stuff. Anyway.
Fabulous. All right.
Let's get into the questions.
Yes, let's get into the questions. So this first one was emailed to us. I have a 7-year-old son with mild autism and ADHD. He's currently in 1st grade in a private Christian school paid by us. He was in public school in a mild to moderate SDC class for 4 years. We saw only a minimum of progress during those years. And our last IEP meeting in May, we didn't agree to the placement and the goals. We felt that an SDC is not the least restrictive environment for our son. The team said that was their recommendation. We didn't sign the IEP. We sent a letter to the school district stating that we believe that SDC is not least restrictive environment for our son, and that with support, accommodations, and assistive technology, he could be successful in general education. And that we are placing him in a private school, and we reserve the right to ask for reimbursement. The school district offered to do new assessments to determine what the placement would be. We agreed to the assessments, but, and this is where we have a little bit of a clarification that we need from the parent, because she said, but they have being done, and we're not sure that they're in process or that they've been done. We don't know. She goes on. she goes on to say he's in general education classroom since the beginning of the school year. He's been making good progress, and most importantly, he's been included with typical developing kids. He's in a general ed 100% of the school day. There's only 9 kids in the classroom. He's behind in academics, but the teacher is working with him at his level. Currently, he's not getting any services like speech, language therapy, or OT from school. He's getting those services through his private insurance. He's doing good in this school, so we're considering keeping him in this school even though we're paying for it. I know the district doesn't pay for private schools and that there's no IEP in private schools. My question is, what are the pros and cons of being in a private school? What are the things that we should take into consideration to make this decision?
Okay, well, this is a great question. And before we answer it, I want to mention that districts can be made to pay for private school, and in fact do pay for private school. They don't want to let you know that. But the way that you have to get private school paid for is via a reimbursement model, because unless the district, at least this is California law, unless the district has a contract with well, let me put it differently. Unless the school is a non-public school that has a certification from the Department of Education, the public schools can't directly contract with them. It's not legal. However, if you pay for a private school, the district can reimburse you. So it gets done through due process. And the other thing is kids in private school do have IEPs, and there's generally 2 reasons. For example, a friend of mine's kids are at a religious school. But they want a plan for the school with accommodations. So LA Unified, because in this case the private school is within LA Unified's catchment area, will meet with the mom annually to discuss accommodations and to some extent whether, what kind of services the private school is going to provide. But also, if you have an IEP and you're in a private school, that sets you up for asking to take the SAT or the ACT with accommodations, and it also sets you up for getting accommodations in college. So that's actually the law on IEPs in private school and paying for private school. But as far as her, she's at the very beginning of this. She's doing what a lot of us have done, which is put our kids in a private school because the public option was not a good one. That's certainly what my family did for a few years, and we didn't, have public school problems, that's for sure. We had different problems, but we didn't have public school problems. In her case, I think what she's trying to do is keep her options open because she's not really sure what she wants to do yet. And she has given the district written notice that the student is in private school and she intends to sue the district for reimbursement. That's good. They're entitled to that notice at least 10 business days before you place the student privately. So that part is good. She's saying before that he was in a mild, moderate special day class for 4 years. Well, he must have started young. He's only a first grader now. But I think the problem and what drove her into private school was that the SDC did not seem like a setting that had the elements that we want for young children with autism, namely the role modeling of typical peers. Now he's in a conventional first grade. He's doing nicely. He's socializing nicely. He's academically behind, but not to the point that he can't stay in the class. And so her decisions to me are as follows. 1, if she wants reimbursement for the private school, the district absolutely has a right to observe him in the private school and to do assessments. I think if you don't do those things, you're going to get killed at hearing. A hearing officer is going to say, you were blocking the district. They were trying to determine whether or not this was an appropriate environment for him so that they could try to offer FAPE. If you interfere with that, you'll lose the hearing. She says he's not getting any related services. She's paying for those through her insurance. Well, I think that should be fine. I don't think anybody's basis for what school to attend would be in public school would be, I have to be in public school because the OT and speech services are so critical. I mean, some of us didn't do OT or speech, whether that was good or bad, because we were told that what was being done in the public schools, at least in the 90s, wasn't really appropriate for kids with autism. So, I guess it comes down to, for her, is she just going to private pay and avoid the hassle of fighting? If not, it sounds as if she can make the case that what they didn't offer her was least restrictive environment. And they might come back and offer her a more modified program that's not so restrictive, where the child would be in general ed and mainstream for the subjects that he could do that for. And if he's doing nicely, even if he's academically behind in first grade, I think you're going to have a strong argument with the IEP team that they have to modify their stance and offer more inclusive education because he's being successful in first grade. So, Shannon, does that suggest any other questions or thoughts to you, or did we cover that?
Well, I think you covered it. We had a question come in though while you were speaking, and I want to put it at least out on the table, and it may be something that you answer later on. But Susie has written in on Facebook and says that they have an IEP meeting coming up on Tuesday for her son. She tells us he's 5 and in pre-K. The school called about a re-evaluation to see what he can and can't do. They asked if the parents wanted to do it or wait another 3 years. And she says, what should we do? I'm nervous for him for kindergarten coming up this August.
Well, that's a good question, and probably we need more facts, but it sounds as if he's turning 6. He was made eligible when he was 3, and now 3 years have gone by and they need to reevaluate. At those 3-year evaluations, you can waive most of the assessments if you want to. And if you do, the district will go along with that because they would always, not spend time on things that they don't have to do. So the question is, are those assessments going to be beneficial to you if you allow them to do them? One way in which it might be beneficial to allow them to assess is that if they don't do good assessments, you then would be in a position to request a private evaluation or evaluations in all the areas, psychoed, speech, OT, and so on, paid for at public expense. Other than that, if you're not looking to get additional evaluations, I guess whether or not you agree to reevaluate him has to do with whether you think it's going to provide you with any greater insight into your child's needs, because of course they will be pulling him out of class for a few hours. So it just kind of depends on where you're at.
We are in IEP season. We've got a new question that just came in. But we got all
this year.
What's that?
Everybody has an IEP on Tuesday next week.
Apparently. So Gail has just written in, and Samantha, can you send me the rest of it because I can only get part of it. Gail has said, I had an IEP meeting last week. Let me see. And Samantha's sending me the rest of it. She says, and had to decide either modified or individual program. It hasn't come through yet, Samantha. It says the school has allowed me to, and then I don't have it, but the second part of it is he's at 15 years old with age 8 mentally and can do grade work 3rd to 5th grade, but I don't have the rest of the question yet.
Don't we ask that person to send the question in one more time or something? Because it's just not enough facts to answer it properly.
Samantha just sent it to me. Here it is. Here it comes. It's just the way Facebook does it. So I had an IEP meeting last week and had to decide either modified or individual program. The school has
I don't know what that means, Shannon. Does that mean modified curriculum in a general ed setting? Individual program sounds like a 1-to-1 ABA program or something.
So Gail, I know you're watching. Write us back right now and let us know. But she goes on to say, the school has allowed me to take him 3 days per week due to stress, but doing this, have I closed all doors for anything after graduation?
Okay, it's a confusing question. I think it needs to be tightened up. Take him where? Take him home, work with him at home, take him to therapy. Why would that close off options for graduation? Is he not diploma track? Tell us what's going on and we'll answer better next
Okay. So Gail, give us some more information. I know Facebook makes it seem like you can't send a big long thing, but the truth is you can email me. That's what the first question guest did. She emailed me at s.penrod@autism-live.com. Usually that's why we get the questions beforehand with Bonnie instead of during, so that we can be more efficient with this. And I apologize, Bonnie, but I get so excited when you guys send in a question. I want to move on to our question about the taking pictures though, Bonnie. A mom wrote into us and said, I recently found out that my teen daughter with ASD sent a suggestive picture to a boy. Not nudity, but the intention was clearly there. The school knew about this and did not tell us. Even though the parent of the boy came forward and met with the principal, we didn't find out about it until our daughter sent a second picture, this time with nudity. Horribly, the boy she sent it to this time shared it. You can imagine how differently our daughter is being treated. She doesn't understand that the attention is not good for a 13-year-old girl. I don't want her at this school anymore. The school is saying that it will all blow over. The boy who shared the picture was expelled, but I guess he's coming back. Shouldn't the school have told me about the first picture? I keep thinking I might have been able to prevent the second picture if I had known. I would have taken her phone away. They don't want to move her, and they are taking no responsibility for what happened. What can I do? A horrible situation.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So I was thinking about this off the air before the program started, and I think I'm going to just talk generally, and then maybe we'll get specific. But, you know, schools don't like to tell parents when things happen at school. And if you think about the why of it, it has to do with the fact that most people don't like conflict. And if you don't tell somebody something that's going to upset them, you can avoid conflict. So we have a lot of situations in which we've got a kid this week. He broke his arm at school, but he was sent home. They didn't say anything about the arm or the fall. They just said he's got a press mark that didn't break the skin from another kid trying to bite him. So he went 4, 5, 6 days without this getting x-rayed, and he was in a lot of pain. And then when mom confronted the school people, they changed their story. And they said, oh, it wasn't a bite after all. He fell off the monkey bars, which is sort of like the oldest line in the world when kids get hurt at school. It's as if there's some, tip that went out that said if he's on the monkey bars and he falls off, school isn't responsible. So I'm really sorry about this. I don't mean to be disrespectful to school people, but there is a tendency to think that, if out of sight, out of mind, if, parent doesn't know about it, parent doesn't, can't do anything about it and cause problems and extra work for us. And really, it's not the activity itself that's so dangerous legally, it's the cover-up. So, in this situation, I don't know whether they were just running around like chickens with their heads cut off so fast that they didn't stop and think that, of course, it'd be critical for a parent to know that this was going on, or if they thought it would blow over, and so they consciously didn't tell the parents, but obviously, whatever their guesstimate or their calculus was, it was wrong. So now the boy's been expelled, but he's coming back. Well, that doesn't sound right to me. It sounds more as if he was suspended. If he were expelled, unless he had an expulsion hearing and he was able to convince them not to expel him, he would be out of the school. So I don't know that that's actually what happened. And I don't even know if he's really the focal point, or the focal point is, does it make sense to move your daughter to a different classroom? Is that going to help if everybody in the school has already seen the photo and knows about this?
I think she wants to move her out of the school.
Oh, I thought she just a different classroom. Well, if her daughter's is she in a general ed class?
We don't know. But she does say, I don't want her at this school anymore.
I did say that. Well, I think that, in light of these circumstances, which are very sensitive, she needs to meet with the principal, see if he can get her on see if she can get him on her wavelength, and see if maybe she can convince him and the Board of Education that in this situation, the best thing to do is move her. I mean, one of the things that the situation does stand for is her daughter's being cyberbullied, and maybe she doesn't realize it, so maybe it doesn't constitute bullying. But I mean, she's being treated unfairly on social media, and a lot of school districts now have board policies about cyberbullying. So, that might be something she needs to look at. I mean, the problem is the girl needs sex education. And we do have, the regional centers have sex ed courses for teenagers. I'm concerned that, that she may not understand why she can't do this, and she may do it again. And so we need to know, do we need to take away her phone, or can we educate her? But it's a very, very unfortunate situation. And what happens when the districts play hide the ball from parents is it creates distrust. And this is such a, potentially collaborative partnership that when the trust goes, everybody just feels bad, and they don't come to the project with a sense of, determined roll up their sleevism. They feel like, well, if you, were dishonest about this thing, what other things aren't you telling me? So, I mean, I'm going to make a pitch for let's deal with reality, people. If somebody gets hurt at school, we have to deal. If somebody gets in trouble at school, we have to deal. Hiding stuff just creates a very negative environment. So, those are my thoughts. She's got to sort of work this from the political angle. She doesn't have an absolute right to be moved. She could have an IEP team meeting and try to convince the IEP team to move her. I guess she'd have to show that, that her daughter is suffering and is upset and is not able to access the curriculum because of the way the kids treat her. They think it'll blow over. It might, but I could see why she wouldn't want to be at that school. She's got to be able to get over her understandable unhappiness with the principal and the assistant principal, and try to get those people to work with her, because otherwise nothing's going to happen.
Okay. We did get some more information from that other mom. Her son is 15 years old. She says social development would like to put him in a temporary placement because of some of his behaviors, including some violence. He only goes to school 3 days a week because of stress, and then the rest of the time he's home with her. They have said to her that doing this has made her ineligible to have services for him after graduation, which tells me that he is on a diploma track. Mm-hmm. But she's saying, should I allow them to put him on a temporary placement? I think there's a lot more questions involved there. And I think this is a perfect example of, for those of you who have questions and for these kinds of things that are so intensive, this format may not be the best format to get to the bottom of it. But one of the things Bonnie has said before is that if you want to call Hear Ji and Chow and tell them a little bit about what they can do with Hear Ji and Chow and how you have the preliminary phone call.
Is this mom in California?
That's a good question. I don't even know that. So mom, write to us and tell us if you're in California.
Right, and I would say if you're in Southern California, we can give you a focused, personal, complimentary intake where you'll get a bunch of information about the special education process, and we'll be able to better address and in less of a soundbite your questions. So that's an option that I've been throwing out to you guys. The questions are great. You guys seem to be tapping into themes that are really interesting and important, so keep sending the questions, and we'll keep doing our best to answer them, and if we can't, we'll direct you to somebody who can.
We do not think that she's in Southern California. We're not even sure if she's in the United States or if she's in Canada. So
Canada's a whole different system.
Yes.
Anyway, maybe we'll find out. We can pick it up next week.
Okay. And Gail, you can write to me so that we aren't taking your business on the streets here, so to speak. Okay, so do we want to move on to the question that we had left over from last week? We've only got like 3 more minutes, or should we leave it there, Bonnie?
Let's have you remind me what the question is.
The person says, I fought to get a specific ABA provider, and then I fought to get one of their aides in my son's school as his one-on-one aide. We had them write the name of the agency into the IEP, only now the office is closing. The aide is going with another agency, but the school doesn't vendor with them. I thought I had this all nailed down, and now I'm paralyzed. I haven't even told the school yet. Is this the mess I think it's going to be?
Yeah, because school closure, or in this case, agency closure, is an exception to the stay put rule. You can't perpetuate the placement with an agency that's going out of business.
Yikes.
So basically, you're going to have a new IEP to discuss who's going to become the new agency. And the district has a lot of discretion in terms of who they pick, but maybe if you have a good relationship with them, they'll work with you and entertain your choices, because this really clearly isn't your fault. As far as losing the aide, that's a drag. But yeah, the aide's got to work, so I'm not surprised that that she or he is going to another agency. So yes, it is the mess that you think it is, and it was good that you got the name of the agency written into the IEP, so that if there was a dispute, the state court would not just be an agency, it would be this specific agency. But unfortunately, and this doesn't happen that often, as I said, there's a school closure exception. If you're at a school and they decide to close it, you can't stay put your placement. Same is true here. So I'm super sorry. I don't know what state you're in. I hope you've got good options as far as other agencies that meet the states and the local education agencies' criteria. I think that's where you need to be focusing now, is who do you want to suggest to them that they get in place instead?
Okay. And I would say too, I've been through the process of the vendor, the entity that I wanted for something happening at school, the school didn't vendor with, but there's a way to massage that too. So if the aide is going to another agency that your school doesn't vendor with, I would start looking at how can you change that so that you can keep the aide that you've got, because that, sometimes there are things that happen and we don't want our kids to lose out.
Right. So, I mean, that agency has the appropriate status that the board could decide to give them a contract. There's a lot of, one of the things we talk about a lot on this program is sort of school culture and school themes. There's a certain amount of, we don't want to do another contract because it's extra work for us, but that doesn't mean they can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we all have jobs. We're all paid to do something. We can't just sit there and say, I'm tired.
Right.
You gotta do it. You gotta make it happen for these students. So,
and sometimes,
that's a good question.
Sometimes if, like, for instance, if the teacher particularly loves the aide and see how great it is with the kid, sometimes you can have the teacher kind of get on board and talk to the person and say, this would be so much easier if we vendored with this. There are lots of ways to massage it, but that might be the thing to do.
I think we're going to have you answer the questions from now on.
No, but because I've been through that. I've been through that exact thing. So in any case,
and
Bonnie,
really, let's just lay it on the line here. What's worse than losing your agency and your trusted behavior support? Nothing. It's horrible. I feel for you.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. And I'm devastated for all the kiddos. We hate to hear that a good agency is going under. But Bonnie, we appreciate you so much. We're not going to have you with us next week, but you'll be back the week after. And do you want to take a second, tell people how to get a hold of Hirji and Chow?
I want to take a second to tell people that you've got 2 weeks to think of your questions. So I got like 3 questions this week, so I hope I have 6 questions when I get back. Hirji and Chow, 310-391-0330. We're all there working. It seems to be a very busy year.
It is a busy year. But we appreciate you more than you could possibly know, Bonnie. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yay. Okay, everybody, keep your chin up.
All right.
You're doing it. Thank you.
Take care, Bonnie.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Coach Elaine Hall from the Miracle Project. She's going to be talking with us about a project that she worked on a while back, but it's just come to fruition. It's a film called Please Stand By, and she was a coach dealing with autism and autism actors for the movie. I've seen the movie. I talked to you about it yesterday. I think it's an important film. Dakota Fanning plays a young woman who's on the spectrum. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to have one of the people who is the cast members of the film who happens to be on the spectrum. Dominique Brown is going to be joining us in just a few minutes. So stick with us. Take care.
Hi, I'm Kara Kaczynski, the Pocket Occupational Therapist, and we're here in Dallas, Texas at the Future Horizons Autism Super Conference. So the book is the Special Needs School Survival Guide, and it's everything you wanted to know about school. It is, okay, so it starts out with just different diagnoses that you might see, and then I explain them in clear terms, no technical jargon. And then each little diagnosis area has about, 50 to 100 activities that you can do at home or at school or cheaply and effectively. So it's just full of information that you can use right now. And the cool thing about it is at the end of every chapter are resources that you can use and access in the internet from a computer. And it's not just for kids with any diagnoses either. It's for kids that are just having trouble with handwriting or with dressing in school or transitions too. Well, both of my kids are on the autism spectrum, so it's important to me that when I learn something for other people, as I research it for occupational therapy, I want to try it at home. So then I take what works and I put it in a book, and what doesn't work, it's thrown out the window. And the other thing is I've just started to research for webinars because our kids, if our kids are aging, so they start out these cute little babies with autism and now they're getting to be teenagers and young adults, and we need help with modifying the environment for them, transition planning, and especially for IEP goal writing for functional things that they can work on, not just handwriting, but then going beyond into the transition to young adulthood. Yeah, the misnomer at this point in the school systems is that we just do handwriting. So we are actually not handwriting teachers. We can modify or help rectify a grip that's inefficient. So if a child doesn't have that nice, pretty little tripod grasp, we can help to get that. However, when the kid's in 2nd or 3rd grade, then we look at efficiency. So if the grasp is efficient, if it's a quadrupod grasp, or if it's some kind of funky grasp, and the child can write efficiently, then we leave it alone. But if not, then we go to electronic accommodations. So OTs then can look at keyboarding and what kinds of keyboards would fit the student best. Also sensory processing, as the kids get older, it looks different. So we can look at sensory processing as it relates to function in the school. And then we also can look at behavior and transition planning. Other things we can do is work on seating. So if the child's having trouble sitting still in the classroom, we can modify that too. So not just handwriting, not just sensory, but we look at behavior, transitions, so anything that affects that student's school day. Right, so that's a really good question because sensory processing disorder did not make it into the last DSM, which is the way that medical professionals classify disorders. So it did make it into the classification under autism, but sensory processing disorder is very confusing, and a lot of therapists treat it differently. So the general overview is that sensory processing is either a heightened response to stimuli in the environment or a too low, which is hypo, response. So if the student perceives every noise around them is equally as important, or every feeling, so I'm sitting here, I can feel the chair, my sweater, the noise around me, then it's hard to concentrate and focus in the classroom on what you're supposed to be paying attention to. So we would use something, maybe a suggestion could be a weighted lap pad or some kind of fidget tool for the student to fidget with, or we can even look at special positioning in the classroom, so preferred seating. Then with sensory, transitions can be hard because any unexpected bump in the classroom or in line can set the child off into a fight or flight, which is when they really have a tantrum and freak out. So when they're in a fight or flight mode, they may fly off the handle for no apparent reason, maybe just being bumped by another student. So it's our job to be detectives and to figure out why the student is having that meltdown. So my CDs were created for my own kids my son in kindergarten didn't like the fire drills. So he was afraid to even step foot into the classroom because the fire alarm may sound. Of course, the school's not going to say, oh, let's just set off the fire alarm for your son, Bob. So we thought, where can we get a fire alarm? So we went into a recording studio and picked a whole plethora of sounds that you couldn't control, fireworks, thunder, sirens, and we put them on a CD, and I wrote nursery rhymes, changing the words to blender, blender, it's okay, or different little Mary Had a Little Lamb is something to do with thunder. So they're kind of fun, and that way the student can control the volume of the sound. It's not a listening therapy, there's no headphones involved. It's just a fun way to control sounds that you normally couldn't control. So they're for sale at my website, thepocketot.com.
Being part of this community is really important to a mom with a son like Jackson, because it really does take a village, and you need so much support, to help bring out all of the amazing qualities and skills and talents that our children have. So I'm just very grateful to everybody who was a part of this.
I think it helps with all sorts of that self-esteem, social skills. They seem to communicate a little bit with each other, and they had a lot of friends. The helpers were phenomenal, and I think the social skills for sure, because they worked together and they did a couple group things across the floor, and they sang songs together, and yeah, for sure, I think it's a really huge deal. A great program.
What programs like this show is the person is in front of what we call today a disorder. I think what we're finding is that these sorts of brain challenges that make people unique can actually be gifts in ways we haven't discovered in the rest of society to bring them out. So when you see a program like this and you see the kids dancing, having fun, and making up jokes, making up the story. I was here when they did that. That was so amazing to watch, because they were all focused, they were all present, they were all laughing, they were all getting into the creation of this story. And that to me sort of broke the barrier to say, no, first we're dealing with people, and then we're dealing with the challenges.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Enterprise, are you there? Can we go over your everyday schedule? Wake up, go to work.
Welcome to Cinnabon. Would you like a Cinnabon?
Your sister's coming.
There's a Star Trek script writing contest. We can go to the post office, and then I can go home with you. Can you please tell Audrey that I'm ready to go home now?
Please stand by. Breathe.
We're actually going down to LA. Maybe you should just come with us.
She's 5'4", blonde.
She's out there, alone.
You're at the hospital, you hit your head.
She jumped out the window!
Nadeb Yohosh. Nadeb Yohosh.
What language is that?
It's Klingon.
Do you know how hard it is to write something? Because the story you want to tell means so much to you?
What was Leonard McCoy's daughter's name?
Joanna.
Oh, snap! Payoff!
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're very excited because we have people joining us in lots of different places. Right now via Skype, we have Coach E, Elaine Hall, joining us. And here in the studio, we have Julia Moss from the Miracle Project and Dominique Brown from the Miracle Project, but also from the film you just saw the trailer for, Please Stand By. So we want to start with Coach E on Skype, because Coach E, talk a little bit about what the Miracle Project had to do with this new film that's out starring Dakota Fanning.
Fantastic. Hi, Shannon.
Hello.
So always so wonderful to be on Autism Live, and great to see my my pals there. So hi, Julia, and hi, Dom.
And we're loving your glasses. Those are some
Like
funky.
those glasses?
They're fabulous.
Are they
Aren't those
fun?
glasses
Are they
cool?
fun?
They're so fun. So I was asking, tell us a little bit about what your role was in Please Stand By Me and the role of the Miracle Project.
Okay, so the Miracle Project received a casting call originally for to play the young Dakota Fanning. And I responded to the casting call seeking for someone to play a young Dakota Fanning, and mentioned to the director that we have adults as well that could play parts of the adults that live in the house that Dakota Fanning's character is living in. So once I met with the director and the producer and the writer, we really, really clicked, and I was brought on as the autism consultant for the film. Ben Lewin spent hours researching autism and really working on understanding what was autism truly about before he stepped into filming. And he visited the Miracle Project classes, he came to our performances, he even set up, the producer, one of the producers, and also Oliver Lewin, set up a day for Dakota to meet with two of the Miracle Project actors, Tristan Miller and Jordan Miller, at their house to learn with them and ask them personal questions. So it was a very involved process, and he, being true to his word, the production company as well, when they could hire our actors to portray actors with autism, they did it. And that's where Dominique and also, there was just a clip with Shelley Cox, who's a dear friend and colleague, and also Brittany Sanders was also one of the actresses. And oops, I just dropped you. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That was fun.
Technology.
And we got to see the glasses up close and personal.
And you got to see the glasses up close. So yeah, it was really a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to be on the set and for our young adults to have professional experience working on a set.
Absolutely. And I got to see the film last week. There was a screening that all of you were at, and it's a lovely, lovely film. And it was so fun to see all of these wonderful actors getting to have the opportunity to be on a set and be in a film and to see their wonderful performances. And we're going to talk with Dominique in just a second about his role, because I think you had one of the biggest parts. You were in so many scenes. That was really, really fun. But I want to go back for a second and say thank you to you, Elaine, for being always an advocate and being a professional in this industry who, when people come to you for one thing, you say, yes, but here are all the things that you should include in this to make it a better film and to make this world a better place. So I just want to say thank you to you for, of course you would advocate for our adults to have roles in it. That is just you through and through. But thank you for having done that, because I think the film is elevated because of it, and for getting together with the producers and making it possible for them to learn more about what autism really is instead of their perception or what they read in a book or whatever. And I want to start with talking about the, you mentioned that they first came to you looking for the young Dakota Fanning. I honestly want to tell you that I thought that was one of the most on point parts of the film. I think I even spoke to you about it that night of the film, that there is a scene that I just thought was one of the best things I have ever seen. It was driving me crazy because I was like, is that little girl actually on the spectrum? Because I believed that she was. And you said in the talk back afterwards that she was not. Is that true? Is that what I...
Yeah, she's not on the spectrum. She's not on the spectrum. She's a very talented actress. And I was actually on the set that day and was able just to give some minor adjustments just in terms of, so sorry, guys.
It's so funny.
Able to give some minor adjustments like I need with technology. Just some minor adjustments. And can you even see me now?
No. We were getting a lovely shot of a light feature. But that's okay, because we're loving it. It's good television.
Progress, not perfection. So
right.
we light fixture still.
Yes.
Like
there you are.
There I am.
There you are.
Okay. But she was incredibly talented, and Ben was very open to any suggestions that I might have had that day, and it was really important to really bridge and make a meaningful experience of that scene, because it is a very powerful scene.
Well,
and I also want to say that the writer, Michael, yes, move the camera.
There you go. You're a little bit more. There we go.
The problem is I have these earphones on, and I'm going to lose the earphones. So,
Her background's on stage, not
that's right.
in camera work.
But can I just say, because you are saying, well, I gave her a minor adjustment, but people need to understand in the film industry that I don't think it was a minor adjustment that you gave at all, because the scene is perfection on ice skates. It's
Absolutely.
just amazing. And that's a young actress, so I don't believe this, I think you're being way too gracious, Elaine. This minor adjustment stuff is not flying with me. I think you're a superlative acting coach for young actors and older actors, and I think you made that scene happen. So I'm just going to say that. And it, people need to see this film for many different reasons. It's just a good yarn. It's a good story, if nothing else. But you need to support your autism community, and you will see this scene and you will know what I'm talking about, because you're nodding your head. It's amazing.
I mean, it's incredible.
It is. And, you know, that was the thing that I was so thrilled with so many other things in the film, but that was the thing that I was like, okay, that rocked. So no more of this false modesty. I think she is a good little actress because she took your adjustment, but I think you gave her really good coaching.
Thank you. It was definitely my joy. I also want to say that the writer, Michael Gamopko, he really did his research and loves autism. And I think that's one of the things that really reveals in the film. And the producers wanted to show something that is just a young girl on a journey, whether or not, without specifying what it is. It's more of a universal theme of having autism and or having a difference and feeling different. So I just wanted to add that as well. But thank you so much. It was a joy to be on that film and to be with a crew that was so receptive.
Absolutely. We're hoping that you're going to have an opportunity to come back and be in studio with us, perhaps with the writer, because this film has been chosen as a selection to play in the AutFest, the Autism Film Festival, done by Autism Society of America. So when we get closer to April and when it plays, we're hoping that we'll have the opportunity to have you and the writer. But right now, I know you need to go in a second, Coachy, and we have Dominique Brown, who was one of your actors from the Miracle Project and is in the film. Now, Dominique does not have an earpiece in, so he has not been able to hear what Coachy has been saying, and he's been so patient. But did you have anything that you wanted to talk with Dominique about before you need to buzz? Elaine, did we lose her? I think we lost her.
We already lost her.
All right, that's okay. That's all right. But because what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a break, and I think we have another clip from the movie that we're gonna show while we're doing that, and then we're gonna come back and talk about how you found out about this film, what it was like for you being on set with Dakota Fanning, and how you, because you're a singer. And we need to say that you are a singer-songwriter of the first order. When you sing, and when you sing your words, you give me goosebumps on top of goosebumps, right? But I don't, and I've seen you act before, and I think that you're a really good stage actor, but was this your first time being in a film?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to talk about that and what that was like, because it's a totally different thing, right?
Right.
So stick with us, and I'll let you get in a word in edgewise too.
Fine.
All right, stick with us. We're going to be back more talking about Please Stand By Me after these messages.
I'll leave you to it. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Audrey. You look nice. Thank you. I like your outfit. It's so purple. So I heard you got a job. Do you like it? No, it sucks, but at least I get to make Cinnabons. Huh. I brought you a picture of Ruby. What can Ruby do now? Well, she can say Mama and Dada. And Elmo. She loves Elmo. Can I have this picture of Ruby? Yeah, I brought it for you. When can I meet Ruby? Soon. I'm her aunt. So, Wendy, I came to visit today because there's something I need to tell you. Jack has finally found a new job. And there's a Star Trek script writing contest. Oh, okay, cool. It's a contest where they're having people write their own Star Trek movie scripts, and I wrote a script. Oh, wow. Today is the last day to send it in, but I didn't want to send it until it was absolutely ready, so I double-checked and triple-checked and quadruple-checked, and it's ready to go to the post office now. So if we mail it in, it'll get there right on time. It's ready to go, so we can go to the post office, and then I can go home with you. When did we talk about this? After I win, I'll have $100,000, and you won't have to take care of me anymore, and you won't have to sell Mom's house. But I don't want to take you out of here when you're doing so good. It's not that I don't want to, it's that it's not a good time. But don't you like it here? No, I have to eat pizza on Thursdays even if I don't want to. I can't watch TV when I want to. I can't write when I want to. So I'm ready to go home with you now, Audrey.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here live in the studio with Julie Moss from the Miracle Project and Dominique Brown from the Miracle Project and many other things. And we were saying before that there's a new movie that's out that's called Please Stand By, and it stars Dakota Fanning, and it also stars Dominique Brown. And yes, Dominique is a wonderful performer, singer, songwriter. You even dance. You dance.
Yeah, I dance kind of.
You're kind of a triple threat. That's what
Right.
they call a triple threat. And we were just talking during the break, and you're 20 now?
Right.
My goodness, time flies. Because I think the first time I met you, you were like 16, 17 years old. But 20, that's amazing. And in this film, you play one of the people who lives in the same group home with Dakota Fanning.
Right.
And we see you in a lot of different scenes. One of the things that pops into my mind that I remember you doing, you did some painting. That there were a lot of scenes where Dakota would be flipping out about something, but you'd be in the background calmly painting. And you see something like that, and it's 2 seconds in the movie. But how many hours do you think you were on set? Was it days and days? Were you there for like a week?
Yeah, I think I was like there for like for a week, I think, or 2 weeks.
That had to have been
I know I
interesting.
had a day off.
Okay, well that's the part that you remember. Well, was it fun? Let's start with that. Did you have a good time?
Yes, it was a great time. It was just an amazing experience to work with Dakota Fanning on set, and she gave me this.
You got to hold it up to so the camera to see. It's a lovely little leather book, and it says "Please stand by," and then it says "Love Dakota Fanning" on it. And I saw on your Facebook that you had posted some pictures with Dakota Fanning, with you and Dakota Fanning. So you enjoyed. She was nice and she was friendly.
She was.
And you love that. Not everybody is that way when they're working. Some people like to be more to themselves when they're working. When you're performing, are you able to talk to other people, or do you like to keep more to yourself when you're performing?
I try to talk to other people.
Well, it's nice when people are friendly, but not everybody is that way. But I'm kind of happy to hear that she was friendly and that she was nice. Did she spend a lot of time when you guys weren't filming talking to you guys that were from the Miracle Project to learn more for her character? Do you think she did that?
Yes.
Okay.
We did meet before we started filming.
That's a very fun thing. So how did you first hear about this movie? Did Coach E come to rehearsal one day and say, you guys have auditions?
She gave us an email saying that they want me to play this young guy with autism in a movie. I didn't expect who was going to be in it.
Yeah. And did you expect that at some point you were going to be sitting in a movie theater with a whole bunch of people and people clapping and applauding for your performance? Did you expect that?
Yes.
Yeah, that part you knew was coming, because I think you're kind of getting used to that. Because you perform a lot. You perform with the Miracle Project. And as I was saying, you're a singer-songwriter. You're in a show that's you're rehearsing right now for the Miracle Project. What can you tell us about it? Because you're sort of in the process of writing it still, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what can you share with us?
The show is called Trusting Love. It's about this young guy named Jake, who I believe is on the spectrum.
Okay.
Who's basically trying to fit in and find his true love.
Okay, and who's playing Jake?
Me.
That's okay. Playing the big roles.
Yeah.
And is this a subject that's interesting to you?
Yeah, it is.
So at 20 years old, have you fallen in love yet, do you think?
I've fallen in love many times.
Have you?
Yeah.
See, when I was 20 years old, I don't think I had been in love yet. So that seems very young to me to be in love. What do you think, well, let's say for you, what does love feel like?
love is this feeling that gets you in a real nice mood.
I like that. I like that. So you are writing something for the show, a song?
Right.
And I understand that this is, what was the term that you told me? It's not hip hop.
It's hip hop slash pop, kind of like a Hamilton thing.
Okay. So we got a little flavor of rap to it. And so your song that you're writing, is it a rap song?
Something like that.
Okay. And when will this be performed? When do you guys actually open?
Like sometime in May, like I think at the end of May.
Okay. And the performance space?
So it's going to be May 31st is our opening night, and then we run through the weekend. We have 5 performances total.
Okay.
So the 31st is a Thursday, and then 2 shows on Sunday. So please come. And it's at the Wallace Annenberg Theater for Performing Arts Center in Beverly Hills, which is our creative home, and has been an incredible partnership.
Yeah.
And so what's so amazing is that our students, the Miracle Project has been around for so many years, but we are really performing on a professional stage with all of the trappings of what real theater is about. So it's really exciting.
It really, I have to shout out to Wallace Annenberg because it's a beautiful, beautiful space, and we're so thrilled that the Miracle Project finally has a home thanks to them. And it is a beautiful, beautiful space, an ideal place to take your family out to go see theater of all kinds, including the Miracle Project. And I also want to say that people, if you want to go see the Miracle Project, get your tickets early. They do sell out. If you wait till the week of, you're going to be crying and saying, why didn't I know? Because they do sell out. It ends up being standing room only. And usually there's a lot of laughing and crying and clapping because it gets really emotional really fast.
It's important to know that all of our shows are original musicals, and we spend about 6 months creating the shows by just working with our participants and hearing themes that they want to explore. So we've had shows about bullying, about working, and this show is about trust and love. And actually the new title, the title keeps on changing, but it's 185 Wilshire, a love story. And it's really about finding love for adults who it is a different experience when you have disabilities of all sorts. So it's really, and it's unlike anything you'll ever see. It's a story that doesn't get told often enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We've been talking about it because next week, of course, is Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about love and all the different entities that we, want to talk to about being on the show during Valentine's Day, because it is a subject that there isn't enough discussed about. Because everybody deserves the right to experience love in all of its glory and all of its because if you had the of love, have you had that part? Where it hurt?
Yes.
Yes, because there is that part to love. Yeah. Love can be fabulous and wonderful, but sometimes it's and sometimes people go, I don't ever want to have that happen again. I don't ever want to be in love again. But then we all end up being willing to be back in love again.
And why, and this show is about trust and love.
Yes.
It's not just about love. It is, and that's such a huge piece.
A big part of it. Well, I can't wait to hear the song that you're going to do. So we'll definitely have to check that out. Definitely. So 1815 Wilshire.
185 Wilshire.
A love story.
Yeah, a love
story.
Why
185? What is that? Is that
it
an
is
address?
It's an address. I'm not exactly sure. It is the address that was written into the script, and we just decided to make the title something a little bit more more universal than trust and love,
And so going back to Please Stand By, though, did you enjoy watching the movie? When you were making the movie, did you know about the whole storyline? Had they given you a full script? Did you only know about the scenes that you were in?
Well, they did give us a script. I haven't read all of it. I read some of it.
And what did you think?
It was interesting. I could not wait to see how looked on the big
Yeah.
screen.
And how did you like how it looked on the big screen?
I really liked it. It was amazing.
Was this your first time seeing yourself on the big screen?
Yes.
And that's kind of a weird thing though, right? What did you think about how you looked on the big screen? Seeing yourself larger than life, was that super cool, or was it like, oh, I didn't realize I'm taller than this person, or
It was really cool. It was also different.
And were you watching each, I'm sure your mom was, were you watching each little scene and going, look, there I am again?
Yes.
Because you were in a lot of the movie, Dominique.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the movie transitions a little bit and the scenes aren't taking place. I don't want to give too much away, but part of this becomes a road flick where Dakota Fanning has to get someplace, and so a lot of stuff happens outside of the home. You know, did you like that kind of stuff, or were you just sitting there waiting until they got back to the home?
No, I liked it.
It was kind of, it was funny sometimes too. I thought it was a good mix of funny and serious and heartwarming. And what would you say your favorite part of the movie is?
Without giving anything away.
Oh, there's that too. I guess I should be mindful of that. We can't give too much away. I really liked the dog. I have to say, I liked the dog. I thought the dog was hilarious.
Yeah.
Did you like the dog?
Yeah.
We should also say there's an all-star cast in this movie too. Toni Collette plays a huge role in the movie, so I'm imagining you got to work with her too. Do you know who Toni Collette, which actress she was?
She played Scotty.
Yes. Hmm? And so how was she to work with?
Oh yeah, she was very nice. I liked her a lot.
She's very much a character actress and does a lot of stuff, and she looks like she'd be somebody who'd be fun and creative because she does all these offbeat things, and she plays the person who, I don't know whether it's a therapist role, but she interacts with all the people who live in the home. So there were other people from the Miracle Project who were in some of your friends, and Coach E was just saying that we show that one clip often on the show about the entrepreneurs, and Brittany from that clip is one of the actresses that's in the film. There's the girl who sings the Star Spangled Banner in the beginning. Is that Lexi? That's in it. Who's the young man who is sitting at the table doing work? Because I don't know him.
I forgot his name.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think who else. There's like 6 or 7 people from the Miracle Project in it, aren't there?
Well, Tristan played a role off camera,
right?
As being, and then, but I think it was just Brittany and Dom and
Lexi.
And Lexi, I believe.
Okay.
But I might be forgetting.
Yeah. But you got to be in the most of it. You were there the most, don't you think?
Yeah, there's one scene where the Star Trek was playing on TV. Me and Lexi were in that scene, but I think they just like cut it on to Dakota.
Right. And that happens sometimes, which is a little bit of a bummer, but there's a whole lot of other scenes that you're in. So we want to tell people that they can see this film. Right now it's playing in limited theaters, but it's also on demand.
Yeah, it's available on iTunes for like, I think a rental of $6.99. It's definitely worth it. And it's also available on video on demand, I know, on Amazon Prime. I don't know how much they're renting it for, but it's available on a lot of your devices. If you go to Please Stand By their website, there you have a whole list of where you can get it.
And we were shocked this week when we were looking at on our cable on demand. It was playing on our cable package.
Absolutely.
And so what an exciting thing! And it's also available in movie theaters. And if you love a good story, right, it's a great movie to watch. If you love somebody who's on the autism spectrum, it's a great story to watch. And if you're a Star Trek fan, you must watch it for that. Because are you a Star Trek fan?
Well, I'm a Star Wars fan.
I was just going to say, sometimes people are either Star Trek or Star Wars.
I'm Star Trek, so,
Me
we
too.
got it covered.
I suffer through the Star Wars stuff, but I'm a Trekkie.
Yeah, no.
Or a Trekker, as they like to say. Yes. I can't do the finger thing there that she does it's on the cover of it's on the movie poster. All right, we're just about out of time, but I really want to thank you for taking the time and come down. Aside from doing this project with the Miracle Project, anything else that you have coming up? Are we going to get a Dom CD at some point?
You say that. There's something in the works.
Something in the works.
Yes.
I love that. I love how you're just like on the down low about it. You're not gonna give us more information than that. That's good. You shouldn't give us too much information, but I love that. Okay, and then for people who are interested in finding out about the Miracle Project, which obviously opens all kinds of doors to all kinds of people, helping them to find their inner artist and have that come to fruition. There are classes you can take. There are shows that you can be involved in. We've got miracleproject.org. Any other place that you want to tell them to go?
TheMiracleProject.org is full of all of our resources. We also are now a vendor program. We do social skills classes. So it's really it's growing, and we
it's
create miracles.
Evidence-based.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
absolutely a fabulous thing. We're so glad that you guys have been around so long, and thank you for coming down and spending the time with us.
Thank you for having me.
I always love to check out your hats, Dom. You always have the best hats. So you're keeping it all cool. And when I sent people downstairs to escort you guys up, and I said Dom will be wearing a cool hat. That's how you will know them. Dom will have a cool hat on. In any case, that's truth. That is the absolute truth. That's how I told them to find you. In any case, we are out of time, but I want to tell people we'll be back next Wednesday. Dr. Doreen Grampuchet will be back with us next week to answer your questions. We are also going to be featuring next Thursday interviews with some of the candidates from Autism Works Now. So that's going to be really fun, plus a lot of other fabulous guests that you'll want to tune in for. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
See, trust, and love.